My name is Abby. I'm the tween librarian at the Public Library of Brookline, and I'm going to be leading you guys along in this month's ideaSPACE Craft Along kit. And this month we are doing mini cross-stitch keychains, which are super cute and really excited to do them. I've been cross-stitching for a few years now, and doing them just like little tiny ones is really fun and, you know, make a nice little accessory for you guys to have. So this craft is part of our ideaSPACE craft kits that you can pick up at the library that has all the materials that you will need. But if you didn't happen to get one of those, you can still craft along with us. You'll just need to be able to get the supplies yourself. I'll put a list of the supplies in the description of this video. So all the supplies that you'll find, or the ones that you'll need an embroidery hoop, a piece of fabric, Aida fabric, a needle, which I just have here on a magnet so I don't lose it, a little bar pin, a keychain here, and 3 different colors of embroidery floss. I've chosen my own here. I have purple, blue, and red, and then your little mini embroidery hoop. And some people have gotten the circle one, and some people have gotten this oval shaped one. I'll be showing you an example of a design in both of these, and I'm just keeping them in the little plastic bags for now because they have some little nuts and bolts that I don't want to lose. And you'll also need some glue. I'm just using Mod Podge. I think in the kit you've gotten a little glue stick. And then this wasn't included in the kit, but you will need a pair of scissors as well. All right. And so even if you've never cross-stitched before, that's totally okay. You don't need to have any sort of experience on cross-stitch or embroidery or anything like that to be able to do this craft. I'll be walking you guys through each step, step by step. And so the very first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to ready your hoop for embroidery. So you'll just need the hoop here and the cloth. And so what I always like to do is I like to kind of center it over it, and you'll see that my piece of cloth here is pretty large. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it down to size so it's a little bit easier to work with. So I folded it in half here, and I'm just going to cut it right along where I folded it. And that'll just make it a little bit easier to work with so you don't have all that extra fabric kind of in the way. Great. So I'm going to set this to the side, and so now you have extra fabric if you wanted to do some more. So now you'll take your hoop and you're going to take the part that has the metal part that's going to be on top, and the part that is just the circle is going to be on the bottom. And so you're going to kind of feel around and line those up, and you'll want to make sure that the screw here is as far out as possible so that your hoop is as big as it can get to be able to fit around the back hoop there. So if you line them up, and then you'll push down to kind of go around that back hoop. Oof, there we go. And encase the fabric with it. And it does take a little bit of force. I'm pressing pretty hard here to get everything around. Come on. There we go. And so it's pretty tight there, but now you'll want to take that screw up at the top and you'll just want to tighten it as much as possible. It probably won't go all the way, but you just want to get it as tight as you can so the fabric will be as, you know, tight in the hoop as it can be while you're working. And so when you've done that, you can pull along the edges to make sure that you kind of want it to be kind of a tight drum here in the middle. You don't want it to be loose at all, because then your stitches will not look as uniform. So you just want to pull along the edges to make sure that the fabric is nice and tight, and you can keep kind of turning that screw as you do it. And so after you've done that, then your hoop is all ready for you to cross stitch. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to decide what you're going to be making. So I'll link to a couple of different free patterns below in the video description, or if you want, you can just kind of play around with it yourself, try to see if you can make something. Cross-stitch patterns are really easy to follow. They're basically just a grid with colored blocks, and so, you know, if you see like 4 colored blocks, you know that means 4 of that color stitch across. And if you've ever done like perler bead patterns, they look exactly like perler bead patterns. You follow along with them exactly like you would that. So they're really easy to read. And like I said, I'll link below to a couple of different little teeny patterns that you guys can do if you want something to follow along with. So I'm just going to be doing kind of a simple heart pattern that's pretty much anyone can do. But next you'll need to ready your needle to get ready to cross stitch. So I'm going to start with this purple color here. And so this is 6-string floss. If you look at it a little closely, you'll see that it has 6 different things of thread in there. You're only going to need 1 of those. So what I like to do is I just pull out a bit of length there, and then I'm just going to cut the whole thing there. And you'll want more than you think you'll need. It's easier to work with less than or more than you would need than less. So now I have all this. This is all 6 strings together, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take 1 of those strings. Oh, there we go. Come on. Well, if I can, my fingers will work, guys. There we go. So I'm just going to take 1 of those out, and then you have the other 5 that you can set to the side there if you do happen to need more, or if you want to switch up colors, you know, do like some purple at the top, or you know, some purple, or you know, whatever color you have, different colors in different parts, you can set that to the side to use later. So here I just have 1 string of that purple floss. I'm going to take my needle and I'm just going to thread it right through the eye there, and going to fold it in half. And so it looks, so you'll have like a double string there on your needle. Some people like to tie it at the end. I prefer not to. If you put a knot at the end, sometimes it can be hard to undo it if you mess up. So I prefer to do it knotless. If you want to make a knot at the end, if you feel like that's a little bit more secure for you, totally feel free to do that. And so after you've done that, you are all ready to cross stitch. So you've got your hoop ready, you've got your needle ready, and so now it is time to actually start. So you're gonna take your needle and you're gonna start around the back, and you wanna go somewhere right in the middle, just where the tension is best, and you're just gonna poke it up through, just kinda wherever it comes up. Let's see where this comes up. Right there, great, all right. And so you'll see there that I have it in one of those little squares there, little circles, and I'm just going to pull it through, but not all the way, remember, because we do not have a knot on the other side. If you did choose to make a knot on the other end of your thread, you're free to just pull it all the way until it comes to the end, but since I didn't, I'm going to leave it with just a little bit of a tail on the other side. And so for cross stitch, you always want to go in the same pattern all the way across, which just makes things look a little bit more uniform. And so I like to go top left to bottom right first. And so I have it here. I will say that that's my top left, and I'll go right in here to my bottom right, and I will pull it through like so. And so I have just a little half stitch there. And now I would go to the top right to the bottom left. So I go through that. Let's see if I can find where my needle is here. There we go. Almost. The top right, there we go. And so now I'm gonna, since I didn't make that knot, I need to secure it on the other side of my fabric. So I'm just gonna turn it over, and I'm just going to, when I pull it through, I just wanna make sure that it's kind of catching the tail of the floss there so that it's securing it on the side of the fabric so we can not have to worry about it anymore really. And so, oh, let's see, I know this looks a little confusing right now. I'm just trying to get things, there we go. Okay, so I have this as the stitch that I'm working on right now, and then I have the tail here. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull that tail through the stitch here and then make sure that that loops around. And so now, whenever I pull all the way through over here, you can pull all the way, and it has just created a little bit of a knot on this side. You'll see that the tail is now going through that stitch, and that way it's kind of secured itself. And so now you can finish your stitch going from top right to bottom left, just like that. And look at that, you've made your very first cross stitch. Yay! And so for my heart pattern, I'm going to do 2 purple and then a space and then 2 more purple. So I'll go ahead and show you guys that. And it is easy to kind of get lost on the other side. You kind of just have to feel around. You'll get a feel for it. I'm trying to do this while also looking at the camera, which I don't usually do, and so it's a little bit harder for me to feel where I am. There, so I have 2, and then I'm gonna leave one blank. And then, whoop, going to do another 2. So I finished my first little row there. Yay! And to start a new row, if you're not changing colors, so I'm just going to be using the purple color again for my second row here, you just kind of start it like you would a brand new row. So I'm going to start here on this side of that purple square and then go all the way to 1 on the other side of that purple square. And in this case, I'm not going to be putting a space in the middle. And another way that you can cross stitch if you want things to be even more uniform is if you're doing a whole row of a solid color, is to do just 1/2 of the stitch first and then come back and finish the other half of the stitch. So I've done 1/2 stitch there, and instead of finishing that stitch, what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to continue along this and do another 1/2 stitch. And I'll do that all the way across. So I have all of my stitches. So now I have finished 1/2 of the stitch all the way across, and I'm going to go the other way now and finish the stitches going right to left. Alright, so now I finished both of my rows there with the purple, one doing the row there that I did the 1/2 across and then the other way 1/2 back across. I like to do that if I'm going all in a row and it's all the same color and there's no skips or anything. I just think it makes it look a little bit more uniform. And so now I'm going to finish with the purple and I'm going to change to another color. So if you're doing that, if you're going to change colors, you'll want to get to wherever the end of your row is and you'll kind of turn it over. And I'm just going to secure this thread through the back here, kind of make a little knot. And it's okay, if it's a little messy, nobody's really going to be looking at the back of your work anyway. There we go. So I pulled it through just 3 times, and I'm going to take my scissors and just cut there. Yay. And so I can take whatever the rest of my thread was there and just kind of toss it, set it to the side, whatever you want. And so now you'll just do the same thing that you did with your first color and just do it with a new color. So now I'm going to switch to blue here, and I will continue working on my heart. So you can see my finished heart here. I have the 2 lines of purple there, 2 rows of blue, and then I finished with 2 rows of the kind of pinky red that I had to make just a sweet little simple heart. And I just followed this, how I showed you guys how to do the purple. I just did that all the way down with the different colors, the blue and the red. And so now we are ready to put this into our little keychain. And so if you just want to make sure that the design you had is going to fit your keychain, you can take it and just kind of set it over the top there and see, oh yeah, you know, that is going to fit. You have plenty of fabric to work with, so if you end up making something that isn't going to quite fit, you can, you know, tinker around with it, make some other designs. You have lots of space to work with, especially since we're making stuff that's so small here. All right, so I'm just going to take this out of the hoop. So you're gonna wanna unscrew it here and then just pop that top hoop off. All right. And there it is. Sorry, let me get all my stuff ready here. All right, and so just like we did with the fabric at the beginning, we're going to need to cut it down just to get rid of the extra fabric around here. So I'm just going to cut out my little heart, leaving a little bit of room around it. And I wouldn't worry about being too neat with the cutting at this point. You're just trying to get rid of the excess fabric. Great, and so you'll finish and you have your little design here ready to go. Okay, so we have our little pattern here and we are going to get ready to put it into our little keychain. So the different parts of the little hoop and keychain that you are going to need, you have your hoop, you have the little wooden circle, you have the slightly bigger wooden circle, you should have kind of a bolt here, and then two teeny little nuts there. So we'll kind of set those to the side for a second. And then you should have your keychain as well. And so we'll need to cut out this shape to make it fit into the hoop. And so what I've done, I've just gotten a marker here and I'm just gonna trace this circle so I can make sure that I'm cutting it out to the right size. And just to avoid kind of messing with the front, I'm actually going to do it on the back, so you can see, you know, it doesn't look like the heart on the back here, but you can see where the design is. So I'm just going to set that circle over the top of that, and then I'm going to draw my circle so I know where to cut the fabric. And since nobody's going to be seeing the back of your design, it's going to be inside of your keychain. It's okay to make it a little bit messy. All right, so now then I have my circle. Now I'm going to cut out that little design. I'm going to cut a little bit bigger than what the circle is, just because, you know, with all things, it's better to cut off the excess if you need to than go too small and not be able to go back. So I'm just going to cut that out, being a little bit generous with how big it is, going around, and then we can cut it down to size if it doesn't fit exactly. All right, look at that, super cute. So now we are ready to start assembling. So you're going to need your little circle first of the two circles. So the little circle, and that is what we are going to be gluing our design to. So I'm going to take some glue and I'm just going to stick it right there all over. Be pretty generous with the glue. All over that design, and then I'm gonna, or the circle, and then I'm gonna take my design and just press it right into there. And at this point, you'll press pretty hard, and then you probably want to take like a little bit of a break just to let that glue get nice and dry before we go on to any other parts. So I'm gonna take like a 15-minute break, let this sit and dry before we go on to the next part. I would recommend that you do the same. Now that our glue has dried, and I've also just cut off the excess fabric that was around this, or most of it at least, we are ready to start putting together the rest of our keychain. So now I'm going to take the hoop and we're just going to stick that circle right there. You can glue it in if you need. It will probably stay just fine by itself through tension, but if you want it to be a little bit more secure, you can go ahead and add glue around there before you stick it in. I'm gonna choose to skip that part for now, but you will need glue on this next part. We have our little big circle here, and we're going to just glue that right onto the back of that. And so let me get my glue ready. I'm just gonna put some glue around the edges here. Be generous with this glue again. You want it to stick pretty well. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna stick that and line it up right on the back there and press it tight. There, and so that'll take a few minutes to dry as well if you wanted to just leave it to the side for it to dry. I'm gonna do that again, just so everything else in the rest of this video goes smoothly. I'm gonna let it dry for just a few more minutes. Okay, now that everything is nice and dry, we can move on to the final part of assembling our keychain. So I have this that's completely dry now, and I'm going to take that long bolt and I'm going to stick it right through the holes that are in the top, through both of them. And then I'm going to take one of the nuts and then we're going to screw it on so that it's tight. Or as tight as you can get it. It's kind of small and fiddly, so you just want it to be tight so that it all stays together. Great. And now I'm going to take my keychain and I'm going to stick that bottom chain through there. And then I'm going to take the second bolt that I had and I'm going to do the same thing, just screw it on. And so that the keychain part of this is kind of captured in between those two nuts. And make sure it's nice and tight, and look at that, there we go. We have completed our keychain. That looks amazing. And so this is one of the size keychains that we got. Some people got the one that is kind of an oblong shape here, an oval. And so I just did like my initials here. You can play around with it, maybe do like a nice flower or like maybe a shooting star. You know, I'll link to some ways to do like letters and little patterns below. And on this one, I used that bar pen to make it into a pen that you could wear. So those are kind of two different ways that you could do this craft. And I'm really excited that you guys got to craft along with me today. It was a lot of fun, and I hope that you guys had a lot of fun doing it. We'd love to see what you guys created. Thank you all so much for crafting with us today. We would love to see what you made with your kit, so please feel free to share your project with us on social media by using the hashtag #MakeYourOwnStory. If you didn't get a kit this month or would like to craft along with us again, our reservations will open it up on Eventbrite at 7 p.m. on November 19th. From all of us here at the library, we miss you and wish you happy making.